Mic check, check, mic check 1 2 2 2. AK, give me a mic check.
Hey. Yep. Hey.
Okay. But before we get this party started, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. 1 second. I'm still new to this, and all right. Still having fun. Woo! Okay, here we go. Let's try this one more time. Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Can let me get a mic check 1 2.
Hey, 1 2 1 2.
All right, we nice and clear. Let me get my notes in order, man. I get excited, man. I get excited when you guys come on here, man, and you know, icons like yourself and everything. So I get a little excited. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to another hot episode of One Love Entertainment podcast. I'm your host, Tut Williams, and I want to thank everyone all over the world. That's my thing. I say all over the world for viewing in, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tut Williams, One Love Entertainment Pod. Please subscribe. We're on YouTube and Facebook, and here we are, another hot episode. And I would like to introduce my super celebrity guest this evening, the one and only. I hope you don't mind. I use the whole government. We go into the nickname. Keith Campbell, aka KC Rock, is in the building. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's good with you, man?
Hey, man. Listen, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate that. And again, you know, as some of y'all see the scroll that's going down, and it tells you what KC, what he do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, why he's here. You know, so you know, I'm about that music life. You know, that entertainment life. So, okay, how about give us a little bio, a little breakdown about, you know, who you are and everything, bro.
Well, you know, back in the, I guess, from like 78, 79, it was like, you know, starting the DJ thing that, you know, when Trent first started, you know, getting involved with this thing. Mm-hmm. And there's I don't need to say one more thing. I don't want to, hope nobody get offended by what I'm saying, but it's the truth.
I want them to see you. I don't want to block his face. Okay, they can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
I want all the DJs out there, you know, I love what y'all do. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a time before y'all, I was there. I'm going to get into that too, but don't take this, you know, the wrong way, because y'all doing y'all thing. I mean, we did our thing and everything evolves. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to get that out there.
Right.
But basically, I started out as a DJ in Trenton. I came out of nowhere because I was boxing at the time, and then I got a detached retina, so I'm kind of like blind in my right eye, you know. But okay. I'm good, you know. I can walk and talk and chew gum. So
okay.
From that time on, man, you know, the DJ thing was kind of, you know, it was R&B type DJ stuff. It wasn't hip hop. You know what I mean? Hip hop came along as far as, you know, the DJs at that point, you know, and I was just there. Mm-hmm. You know, when it was fun, you know, you had to find your mix. You had to carry 10 crates of records. You know what I mean? You had to do your sound check. It was no Serato. It was no, you know, it was none of that.
Right.
And it was hard because, you know, it was limited places for us to play. So I started doing little community rooms like at Roger Gardens, you know, stuff like that. And but prior to that, how I actually got into DJ, I just want to mention a friend of mine, Shane Cardell. He's passed now, but he's the reason why I ended up getting a turntable and a mixer.
Okay.
He came around the neighborhood and he had one, and I was intrigued by it. And I looked at it and he was like, "Yo, you want to buy it?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I ended up buying another turntable and stayed in the basement 24 hours a day. Just doing my thing.
Right.
And at that time, nobody was doing anything. But there's some DJs things I will call out that, you know, was in that era. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys don't know, and they probably won't be surprised if they were. I started learning how to scratch. I went out of town for a little while and saw what they were doing, and I brought it back. And then I ran into this kid named DJ Juice. He called himself Black Juice. Like, I love this cat, man. I'm sorry that he's not here.
Yes. Rest in peace, DJ Juice.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He lived on the corner from me at that time on Union Street. He lived on Ferry Street. And I didn't know. And as I was starting evolving into this thing called DJ, I was doing weddings, parties, little speaker stuff, and I did a party one night, and Tiny Tim. A lot of you guys out there know Tiny Tim or heard of him.
From South Trent. South was it?
Well, he was from East Trent.
Okay.
Hart Avenue.
Okay.
With K-Ron Livingston. That's who Psychotic Funk was before it was Psychotic Jet.
Okay.
And he came to a party. He said, "Hey, I kept hearing noise about me doing these parties and scratching hard and all this sort of stuff." He snuck in the party one night and he saw me, and he approached me one night and said, "Hey, man, I want to do a party with you at the Carver Y." Mm-hmm. All right, cool. It was kind of one of the biggest things I've done. And he introduced me to his brother, which was K-Ron Livingston. When he introduced me to K-Ron, he didn't care for me because they were doing R&B stuff. So one night they decided to have a party at the Boys Club on Pennington Avenue. So, back then, you catch your crew, you go to that neighborhood, you walk in, you walk out. It was one of those things. So we went to the Boys Club one night, and they were doing their thing. But a lot of people don't understand, they didn't have turntables like we had. They had what they call radio DJ turntables. They just had two turntables in a case with two switches on them. And then they had a mixture on the side to control it.
Okay.
That was promo when they go like on a radio station like DAS or something like that. Right. It was that type of turntable.
Right.
And Tiny Tim saw me doing some crazy stuff with my hands, and he was like, "Yo, what is that?" And I'm like, "Hey." So anyway,
you was doing this on. You was doing this on those turntables back then.
No. I just happened to go to the party. He was trying to throw like a teenager party.
Okay.
But that wasn't their thing.
Okay.
So, and I'll tell you how that actually evolved as well. Because prior to them, they were doing like block parties and stuff like that. So when Tiny Tim saw me, he was like, "Yo," it must have been 400 or 500 kids in there. They were standing at the wall looking like the Hatfields and McCoys trying to, nobody was playing. It was playing Whispers and stuff like that for these kids. Wow. So Tiny Tim waved to me and he said, "Hey, come here, man." He said, "Hey, man, I need some help." And I said, "What's up?" He said, "Look, floor, you can see the floor." Mm-hmm. So take me to my house, went down Titus Avenue and got me 3 crates of records and slipped me through the back door. I put my turntables up. The rest is history. And that party was how I met Fonz Lorenzi. Okay. I heard of him. Right. He's a young guy, Right. And Kevy Kev, God rest his soul, used to bet on me all the time. And I said, like, "Stop, man. These dudes might be better than me."
Right.
So I'm up there doing my thing. And K-Ron came to me and said, "Hey, you're going to be my young guy DJ at the end of the party." And so that jacket, if people seen it recently, mm-hmm. you couldn't buy that jacket. There was this embroidery place in Chambersburg called Sports World. If they didn't give you that jacket, you couldn't buy it. So you had to earn it, basically.
Not to cut you off, just to explain to them, the jacket that Casey's speaking about, if you've seen the recent pictures DJ Books just posted like on my page, and he might on yours as well, Casey had on the jacket. On the back of the jacket, I'll let you explain the back of the jacket and the history of that jacket. Okay.
That jacket was designed by Spaceman Smar, mm-hmm. James Smar. I knew him as Spaceman mm-hmm. for years. Doug Smar, brother.
Another legendary DJ.
Robert Smar, mm-hmm. that runs the Knuckle Game Boxing. They're all brothers. Mm-hmm. So, and I knew Rob for years. He was with my cousin, dated my cousin. So I knew them guys from down Jackson Street. And that jacket, when I got that jacket, it was a New Year's Eve, and I was in BT's, and I wasn't supposed to be in there because I was only 18 years old. So they used to sneak me in, do their thing.
Right.
And at the time, I met Muscles, Raymond Sanderson, y'all call him Muscles, and 007. Y'all might know him as John Christ, like Morris.
Right.
They were nonstop productions.
Right.
Okay. So when I came in, I was the younger guy. And, you know, we were doing parties and everything. So that jacket was presented to me, the original jacket. And I kind of freaked out because I'm like, I would never get one of them. You know, because it was a BT's lounge. Everybody knew BT's Sunday was a scorcher.
Yes.
You had a party, you might as well shut it down. I mean, there was no point.
I was old enough to get in, but I was there.
Yeah. So me being in there at this point, they still had the old turntables. Okay. And I never really got a chance to spin there like I wanted to at first. And then, of course, things evolved. And I had these turntables. They were belt driven. They were called Technique SO. I think it was SO 101, SO 1B1, the curve arm.
You had the S on straight.
No, they were curved. They were gray.
They wasn't the original SRs.
Yeah, they were.
They were okay
when they first came out.
Okay.
So before parties, I used to put the rubber band in the refrigerator so it could be tight, because you know it wasn't belt driven.
Right.
So did my thing, and all of a sudden, Kieran said, you know, again, hey man, we're gonna do this here. So now I'm running around doing all the kiddie parties, that type of stuff. So at this point, I'm kind of like, you know, doing my thing, and guys are chasing after me, talking about, you know, battle the DJs, and that was a big thing back then.
Right,
you know, the one battle that I did not want to have, and it didn't happen, and I'll tell you why, was DJ Ready Red. I was so impressed that he wanted to come after me,
right,
because he was that dude,
right.
And by this time, Psychotic Funk had turned into Jet, Psychotic Jet. Now everybody knew the White House bar on Willow Street. That bar used to be called the Jet Bar. Right. That's where Psychotic Jet came from.
Well, I never knew that.
I'm gonna tell you what the letters mean.
I never knew. Okay.
The letters JET was Jeff Daniels, which they called him Thin Man. Eli and Herbie T. That's how it became Jet. That's when they changed Psychotic Funk to Psychotic Jet. Okay. Because if you look at any old pictures of the old truck from Jackson Street, it was always say Psychotic Funk. Right. Okay. So when BT's became the home of Psychotic Jet. So now K-Ron changed it. Now I'm in. Okay. Doing my thing, and things evolved until one Easter night, BT's burned down. Okay, and I'm going to work. I've got a job. I'm going to work, and I smell the smoke, and I come around the corner, and I was in the bar that night that it burned down, but nobody was there. It was after hours. I kept telling the guy, "Hey, I smell gas. Pick up in the morning, it's burned down." Of course, they rebuild, and then after BT's kind of fizzed out, I still had the jacket. I still was wearing it, and I was doing things like wearing it to other parties, trying to intimidate the DJs. You know, I got Psychotic Jet, you know. And Mr. Murray, Trinai, he had the Crown Disco, the Bishops. Right. Big Ron Horton and all those guys was with him, and that's how I met them. And I was wilding out one night, and I went to his party and went in, and he saw me with the jacket, and he put me out. I'm like, yo, what's up? I still to this day I don't know. Murray, please come tell me why you put me out. I'm assuming it was the jacket because Psychotic Jet was the crown, you know. Right. So after being a DJ, man, and doing what they did, and then that jacket became a symbol of the first Psychotic Jet reunion was 2011 here in Trenton at War Memorial in the basement. Okay. So they brought it, and you know, a lot of the guys were still alive at the time. Nobody knew I had the jacket. So I went down there one night at the reunion, and I walked in, and people like they saw a ghost. Right. Because nobody saw the jacket for like 30 years. And some lady, I don't remember her name, she grabbed me. She said, "Where did you get that jacket?" And I said, "Hey, you know, I had it digitized." So I still have it. And of course, you went to Juice's funeral, you saw, you know, if you saw it. So that's how the jacket evolved. but I wanted to keep it going.
Right.
So now I'm dealing with Psychotic Jet. I'm dealing with Muscles 007.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were the younger of the crew, and you know, I did work with them, and they did work with us. You know, we did it as a crew, and but now after Psychotic Funk and Psychotic Jet kind of phased out, I'm sitting on a porch one day, and Tiny Tim pulls up with this cat named Disco Dan. I'm like, he said, you know Disco Dan, and I'm like, nah, who is it? It was Duke. Everybody knew
Duke Production.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Disco Dan.
That was Duke. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
I ain't never know that.
I'm sorry, bro, but you know, I love you, man. But that's how I was introduced to you by Tiny Tim, bro.
Okay.
You want to get mad? Go.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him like, yo, Disco Dan. Okay.
Yeah. Don't hurt nobody.
Okay.
So at that point, Tiny Tim said, "Hey, KC, we're doing this party and we need you." It was in front of my house, and I said, "Okay." That was one of the biggest parties, and everybody knew this song back then. It was Shannon, Let the Music Play. Okay. I used to work with this young girl. I'm gonna say she's young lady, but she works at for Hughes Funeral Home. She does, you know, the makeup and stuff.
Okay.
She used to work at the Shrimp Bowl.
Oh, okay.
And she had these 2 records. They were promo copies. They were red and white striped labels. Nobody had them. She worked for the label at the time. She gave me, said, "Here, I know you're a DJ." It was called Let the Music Play. Shannon. I played that record at the War Memorial, and people lost their mind because I kept breaking the front of it. And then finally I let it go. And this cat named Milo, he every time we see me, that's all he talks about. Let the music play.
Yeah.
And I kept scratching. So after the party, I forgot about Duke. I really did. I'm sorry, Duke. I forgot about you. I just happened to see him. Somebody said, "Hey, KC the Rocking Machine." That's what he was calling me.
Right.
And I looked over and I'm like, you know, Duke was big. Duke was like, he was like a bodybuilder at the time.
Yeah.
You know, he got out the army. He was, you know, he wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yo, you need anything? Let me, you know, you nice. Let me know." So he said, "I live on Kirkbride." So one day I went up there and he started Duke Productions, him and I. And we just started tearing things up. He started building stuff, and I started evolving. So one day we was riding around in that black truck that you know, with the bunny on the side. It was Dennis' truck.
Okay.
Jamaican Dennis. And he said to me, he said, "KC, Ready Red's looking for you, and you need to go practice."
Wow.
I said, "What?" I said, "Nah, you know, practice, dude." He said, "Nah, this dude nice, man." So I snuck in the skate room, saw him. I saw Juice there, and I kept hiding from Juice because I knew Juice was going to start some mess.
Right.
So it never happened. And next thing I see, Ready Red was on the cover of our album.
Ghetto Boys.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this dude. And he was trending, you know. So as that stuff went on, Red did his thing. He went to California or something. And next time I ran into Red, he had flipped his vehicle 7 times, and he said, "I almost died, and I'm back in Trenton now."
Wow.
So I don't know if a lot of people know about that at the time when he came back. And we had talked about doing a documentary, myself, Juice, Red, and I think Prince Johnny C too. Now, Prince Johnny C, it kind of messed me up about him because I grew up with him. I went to school with his brothers. I didn't know Prince Johnny C was Johnny Carmichael from South Trenton.
From the city.
So I'm in Raymond Earl's studio one night, you know, I'm starting to evolve into doing studio work, and Johnny C walks in. And I'm looking at him, and he's smiling. They all look like the Carmichaels. They got that smile. Anthony, all of them. So I looked at him and I said, "Hey, he said, yo, this is KC, this is Prince Johnny C." And I'm like, "Prince Johnny C, where I hear that name from?" And I said, "Wait a minute, you Prince Johnny C from Ghetto Boys?" He was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're Carmichael, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah, who you?" I said, "Dog, I lived around the corner in the projects from Union Street from you. I never knew you were that Prince Johnny C."
Right.
So, you know, we started kicking in and everything, man. You know, so everybody was cool, you know. This time PRT was doing their thing, and everybody else, Tony and all of them, and I work with all of them in my studio as well. And at this point, like, I just started evolving, and I started getting away from the DJ thing. but I still loved it.
Right.
But I couldn't keep up with the technology because I was used to records, going to school at Ace. Every time I got my check, I would blow on records, you know what I mean? And my grandmother used to say, why you buying the same record? I said, Grandma, I'm a DJ fan, you know what I mean?
I need two.
You know, and I honed my craft in that basement, and we called it the mole hole.
Oh,
and because when you look down the steps, it looked like a hole, like a mole would dig.
Right.
So that is the name of my recording studio. It's been that for almost 40 years.
Okay.
So all these things that I've done, and like I said, I mentioned a lot of people. Like real quick, there was a guy. I don't know if he's from Roger Gardens, but it was DJ Boy, DJ Glenn. It was a lot of those DJs that guys today don't know about that were doing their things.
Right.
That, you know, for you guys to where you are now, if you knew these guys, you would have been paid homage to.
Right.
You know, and they were cool. We threw a party one time in the car, but why? It got so crowded, they were jumping out the ceiling. I was shocked. Yeah, it was nice, man. But so it's a lot of things that I've dealt with coming up. The one person I just could not leave me alone was Juice. He used to bother me on lunch hour. And we were walking downtown one day, man. It was crazy. And he was, you know how he was. I'm Black Juice. So this girl, Robin Braxton, saw me. We used to work together.
Okay.
And she saw me, was going back to the job. And she said, Keith, who was that guy arguing with you? And I was like, oh, that's DJ Juice. That's DJ Juice? I said, yeah, that's him. I thought y'all was going to fight. I said, no, it was fun. Right. To go after DJs.
Right.
It wasn't no physical thing.
Right.
I loved what Juice was doing because it kept the fire going in Trent.
Right.
And then when PRT came and did their thing and everybody else, all the rappers and stuff, I was like, yo, I'm glad that we got this thing going on.
Right.
So that's just a little bit, about as far as the DJs came now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as who done this stuff first, I can simply say I was.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can come on and refute it if they want, but I don't think anybody can say that they were there. They might have been there watching, but nobody ever, after Ready Red challenged me, there was nobody else challenged me.
Okay.
Nobody. And there were DJs that I don't think really knew me, like William H. I don't think he really knew me. Plex. I knew Plex. Mm-hmm. I used to see him spin. And I respect all them guys, man, because, they kept it going. Right. And to this day, DJ Swell, when I met DJ Swell, I met him in a recording studio. And we've been friends forever. And Pop, I got, after Duke, I got with Pop. And, we were doing our thing, man. And it was like a family. Right. You know what I mean? And I never burnt bridges with nobody. I've never talked bad about anybody because I love what they were doing because I just couldn't keep up.
You showed love.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? To this day, you always have been showing love.
Now, the thing about these turntables.
Today's turntables or no, back then?
SP12. I mean, not the SP12, the 1200.
1200s, okay.
Okay. A lot of people don't know they were never DJ turntables. You might not even know that.
Nah, because
they were never sold as DJ turntables.
Because guess what? Back in my upping, I had to get the 1200s. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm gonna tell you where they came from. Like, there was this place called Silos on Route 1. It's a weed dispensary now on Route 1 by the car dealership, right near the mall, Cricket Ridge Mall.
Okay.
If you go on up to Cricket Ridge Mall, there's a marijuana dispensary right there.
Okay.
That was Silos.
Okay.
They sold that. They had one and they never sold it because it was part of a unit. Bose had the amp. Everybody didn't know about Bose system. They were the blue lights, the black casing. That turntable sat on top as a component.
As a set.
Yes.
As a stereo. Okay.
That wasn't
it wasn't a DJ. It was a home unit. It was a home unit. Okay.
And everybody was kind of like bugged out about them because you can stop the turntable and the record and the thing keeps spinning because they could direct drive. So I didn't know anybody that had them. I did find somebody that had them in Trenton. Once you got those turntables, then DJs started doing it. New York was pretty much, that's where you really seen them at. It was part of it, actually like a unit. Now, Eric Judkins. Oh, when O posts his stuff that's saying the mood I'm in.
Yeah.
You see that system he has?
Yes.
That's what the bowl system used to look like with the turntable
sitting on top.
Right.
Okay.
And every time I see O do, I'm like, oh, that's dope.
Right.
Because that's what it used to like. We couldn't afford it. Those turntables back in the day was $500. Buy them today and see how much they are.
Man,
they still running $450 and up. And I'm talking about the 80s.
A lot of people got them on storage, sitting around, locked up in the basement,
But if you try and buy them, they're vintage.
Right.
If you bought them back in 82, 83, they were $450 without the unit.
Right.
That wasn't part of the unit.
It was just the turntable itself.
It was just turntable itself. And if you try to buy them now on Facebook Marketplace or anywhere on TV, you'll still see them at $450 just for one. Some people try to sell them for $1,200, but that's what those turntables evolved from. And the only guy on trend that I knew had them, and some guys might refute that, was Troy. Troy the Wonder Boy. He came through us, people.
Yeah.
He gave him that name.
Yeah.
Troy became. I never battled Troy, but he was always kind of family. You know what I mean? But I taught Troy how to use the fader. Troy was mixing like this.
Okay.
He didn't know how to use a fader.
Okay.
So once he got that, Troy battled this dude named Pat Love from Philly. He used to mix with his elbows. He was dope. Kevin Kev from Trenton, God rest his soul, brought him here. Troy tore him up at the Lawrence Neighborhood Center, and that was history. Troy became Troy the Wonder Boy.
Power 99, that film. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lot of, like I said, a lot of DJs that was doing their thing. I used to go and watch them to see, were they doing anything different? Were they evolving? And they were. And then all of a sudden, these turntables came out with this electronic stuff. I was confused because I didn't know. But by that time, I was doing studio work, and I was falling back. And Juice used to always tell me, come on, man. I'm like, Juice, I'm done with that. That's your thing. You got your thing.
Right.
And so when he started evolving with the tapes, man, I was like, yo, this is dope. And then he did the blends. So the first time I seen Juice stuff out of Trenton, I was at Delta's, and my daughter was having a birthday party, her and her girlfriend. And her girlfriend boyfriend was Kid and Plays DJ. And he put up a 50-inch TV in it. And I was like, yo, that's Juice stuff. He was like, you know this dude? I said, hey, you live in my neighborhood. So I started seeing him everywhere. And I used to go to his house, help him pack up and all that stuff, man. So I just never burned bridges with none of the DJs here. I never talked bad about them. Right. And we were doing our thing, man. And I'm so glad that they still, like, when I go to Cigar Sundays at the time, I was so glad to see Plex. I'm so glad to see William H. And I'm so glad to see all these DJs still evolving, vibing and doing their thing. They didn't let it die down because, it only takes one time to go out of town and never come back. Right. And so, we were doing things like that. But again, far as the DJ set, I loved when I used to hear the old stuff and people finding the mix. I've done so much, in this town, like for being a stage manager for a lot of the concerts at the arena. And I did a lot of stuff at Maxine's when it was there, sound and stage manager and stuff like that. So entertainment was always in my blood. But boxing was not my thing. Okay. But when I couldn't do it anymore, I felt that was somewhere I needed to retreat to. And
almost like a backup plan.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I worked with Gracie and all, and that's why that day you were on, and I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and she worked in my studio. I worked with a lot of people. Raymond Earl, Instant Funk, and those guys, Les Paul, wrote, he's the reason why I'm doing studio work now.
And that was one of my questions about how did you get into the studio production?
My brother is a drummer. His name is Billy Campbell. They called him July. They used to call him the left-hand drummer. Why, I don't know, but everybody still talks about him that he was good and everything. He played with a lot of the bands down here. I don't know if a lot of guys on, Platts used to be on Princeton Avenue, the record shop. He used to have bands in the basement, Timmy Anderson and all the band members. So I was around all these band people. And so Les Paul was one of my brother's band was a keyboard player. Dennis Rogers,
I know those names.
Mike,
Well, I know them.
Dennis Rogers plays the guitar.
Plex Man. Some of Plex. No,
Who's it?
you said Dennis Rogers.
Dennis Rogers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was how I got into it. Les came to me, and I remember that movie with Robert Redford, and they said, "If you build it, they'll come." It was a baseball movie, and Les said to me, "If you build it, they'll come." So I started running around with him as I got old. I've been knowing Les since I was like 10 years old. But as I got an adult, started running around. I worked on my first, his first album. I worked on it. So when I got into the studio stuff, it evolved from Les Paul, taking me to studios in New York. You know, we used to go 10 at night to 5 a.m. sessions. And one night we actually kept LL from doing Backseat in My Jeep in the final mix. We was in Studio Bag. And we were still mixing it, and LL was on his way to London, so he wanted to get in and do his mix.
Right.
But it's like 4:00 in the morning, and they kept sending the guy down. Hey, LL wants to know when you guys gonna get done. When you gonna get done? When you gonna get done? And we was like, we're almost done.
Right.
So Heavy D was there that night, and I remember Big Daddy Kane slamming the door in my face because he was doing a Snickers commercial, which cracked me up at the time because he wasn't as popular as he was, you know.
Right.
But once I got into studio work, then I meet Gusto. Okay.
From the town.
Yeah, I knew Gusto for years, and he called me one night and said, "Hey man, I got this track I want you to mix." So I was like, "All right, cool." You know, he came over, and that's when I had my first studio here, by the VFW over the Trent. And North Trent is called Princeton Avenue. We wouldn't call it the Boulevard.
Yes. That's where I'm from.
Skip Diddy lived at.
That's where I'm from, baby.
Yeah.
Princeton Avenue.
Yeah. So we went down there and we did the track Disco's Revenge.
Okay. Yes.
Where we go. Peace to you, Gus.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know it was going to go there. That was one of my second major project that I've ever done. Of course, it went gold. And I did with David Tobin. You know, doing the house stuff, and Rob Robinson and them, you know, they were all doing their thing. And that record went gold. And I get in an argument every time somebody play it. Now, mind you, that was 1995. I just saw it 2 weeks ago. Adrian Miller, I think his name is, the club house. He does club music.
Adrian Miller.
Yeah, well, he's up there with Louis Vega and them cats.
Oh, okay.
David Morales.
Okay.
One night I watching YouTube and there's a song. They were bumping it, and I'm like, and the original mix was called the Moho Dirty Mix, which means there was no vocals on it. Now you go on YouTube now, there's vocals and backgrounds. We never did that. So that's how that record evolved.
They got vocals on it?
Now. Yeah.
But
I don't know who did it.
Yeah, because back then,
no, it was just a track.
It was just,
that was the original that we did. I mixed it, you know, and my name is, the original label was Green on Bumblebee Records. And it has my name in my studio, in my edit, where it was recorded and mixed.
Okay.
And just recently at the honoree that Swell did, this guy was running around saying he did it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so T-Bone said, KC, come here. Oh. We were doing the sound, and I said, what's up? He's like, yo, that dude said he did Disco's Revenge. I said, tell him to come here. I know he couldn't have done it. So me and him talking, and then, you know, he's trying to tell me I didn't do it, he did it, and Plex was standing there. Plex just looked over and said, yeah, he did it. Raymond said, yeah, he did it. Dewey just would not listen. Actually, it was one of Gusto boys, because I called Gus, and Gus was like, send me a picture of this dude. Gus said, that's my man. And I said, yeah, Gus, he told me he mixed the track with you. Gus said, what? You know, you can't make that up. It was good. I love that somebody paid attention to it that long ago. And I always love to hear it when somebody else is playing.
Right.
You know, my original record is in a frame. I didn't get the plaque. Gus didn't get the plaque, you know, some kind of issue, whatever it was. But I know what it was done. When I seen MTV bumping it, I knew it was there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. But that's how I got into music, far as studio work. And then I just kept building. And then I was going to New York every week, working, you know, with a couple guys up there. And then they were selling studio equipment, like, because they were evolving into computers. So I started buying their stuff cheap, and I built my first recording studio. And now it's It's up and running. You know, I do everything out of there. You know, so I love to see the DJs still doing their thing.
Right.
You know.
Now your recording studio is in the town.
Yeah.
And okay. Let me ask you this question too. I know because we spoke about the hip hop. We got into house music. We got into the R&B. So at your studio, who, like, I know people buy time to come into the studio, or how do that work?
Yeah. Basically, it's always been. Well, I can tell you this before I say that. Back in, I guess, 95, 96, engineers are still getting the same money they were getting back in those days, believe it or not. And like the Hit Factory did all this stuff and they were on there talking, hey man, we just spent 200 grand and nobody's using this anymore because you don't have to.
Right.
You go to Guitar Center and say, I want to be a producer. They say your laptop, a couple speakers, and software, you good.
And this is leading up to the question I'm asking, like, who's in the studio more? Is it the rappers, R&B, singers?
It depends. One time it was with me. I'm versatile. So I've never stuck to one genre.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to come in the studio, I remember when Culture was coming down, and then Wise was coming down, then Link and Father Shaheed come down. They were coming down in different sets. Then Tony D came down. Of course, me and him got into an argument about a piece of equipment, but it was fun. About that that MPC 60 that it wouldn't lock up. But it was good to have that kind of conversation because when they were doing their thing, traveling and everything, you know, I could never get next to them. And so one day I sat down with Culture and I said, hey man, you know, my studio's open to you, come through. And it's to this day, same thing. And we communicated as well, you know, and Masada was with Wise at the time. He, you know, does beats and stuff. And so they were coming at different times. So back then it was a lot of hip hop.
Right.
So I didn't discriminate against R&B. Like I said, Gracie was down here, Les was down here, a couple people down, you know, was down here. As far as R&B and stuff. But now with I have never done drill music. You know what I mean? I've never got into that type of music for seeing what I was seeing. So I kind of stick to a lot of R&B, and a lot of guys come through around Mother's Day. They come around, you know, around Easter, and they want to sing to their wife, so they cut a CD. You know what I mean? Okay. People do a lot of that type of stuff. So I get a lot of that because they are more adult. Now, when I had my actual studio in my home, when I still had my home, it was soundproof. It was in the basement. It was, you know, it was really nice. It was designed the way, you know, a studio is supposed to be. Right. And then in 2010, I ended up, you know, passing out and waking up in the hospital. So for 8 years, I was on kidney dialysis. I have a kidney now. It's going almost 8 years. I downsized, but where I'm at now, you would never know the difference. I'm in an apartment, but you would never know the difference. The quality of the music. You know, I've got people come over to do live guitars. The only thing I don't do in my studio right now is live drums, but I'm on an in unit. And the woman that lives downstairs, she's young. She works at the hospital. She's never home. So I still respect my neighbors. You know what I mean? I'm full production. I have the best of both worlds, digital and analog. And what I don't have, I contact Raymond Earl. He's my go-to guy, and Masada. They're my go-to people when, like, matter of fact, they're upgrading my computer as we speak. So, you know, I pretty much, again, I don't burn bridges because I normally need these people. But as far as the studio goes, I don't think I will ever stop doing that until maybe I go blind or something. And even then, Stevie Wonder can do it, so I can do it. You know what I mean?
Music ain't going to stop. You know what I'm saying? You know, and the reason why, you know, I mentioned R&B, hip hop, gospel.
I got a gospel track.
You know, it don't stop. It don't stop.
I have this song that I wrote. I was depressed when I wrote it, but it has a message. Now, if anybody know the Stevie Wonder song "As,"
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I rewrote that song. I called it All Praise. And everybody that heard it, it was like, what made you write that? I was going through a divorce. I always loved the song, but I could never find a track to actually have somebody sing over it, to things fall where it falls, vocally. Mm-hmm. So I had Raymond Earl, John Williams do the track. Mm-hmm. And I had this guy named Corey Larimore come in from the church I was attending at the time. He has this raspy voice, but he's a young kid. And I love the way he sung it. And he was like, no, I want you to sing it. I had to sing it for him first. And he said to me, won't you sing it? I was like, no, I want you to sing it. Just like Gusto wanted me to mix his track. Right. Sometimes you get tired of hearing it. You know what I mean?
Because you play it so much.
Exactly. Yeah, man. You don't know if you're going to be, is it going to be better or whatever. And I'm like, I don't master music because I feel like, I have a good mix. So I ran into Rob Robinson recently, and he masters. And he's right near town. Mm-hmm. So that's another avenue if I need to do it. And I do also have Raymond Earl as well. Mm-hmm. But music is a universal thing. And I think that's why when people, if we just had a lot of more music in our lives, we would be a lot more kind in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
That's the one thing. Just like when you have, when you're in a motorcycle club, the thing you have in common with those two wheels. And it doesn't matter what color you are, right, you ride a motorcycle. So musically is a universal thing. Right. I don't care, if you Billy didn't have the crazy accent, but the music is just the music. You know what I mean? Right. And I've learned through Les Paul that to me, Les was a genius. I've seen him do things on the piano, and I said to myself, I go play a couple, he would go, a keyboard player knows. Right. But it sounds good to me. Right. But I always just thought he was a genius when it came to the keyboards. And I noticed that the more he encouraged me, the more I kept going and going and going. And I'm still going. I sent him a picture the other day of the redesign of this my new gear, and he was like, hey, I still see you still in the game. And he has a lot of music that he's done. David Tobin has this song that Les recorded. It was called Let's Talk About Love. Mm-hmm. And every time I hear it, I smile. I think this was done in 93. I smile because of the vocal arrangement that David Tobin did. I mean, when you hear this song and hear what he's doing, mm-hmm. it makes you want to record. Because it's, and we've done a lot of nights in the studio. We spent a lot of nights in New York, Mr. Last Train, getting that stuff done. But it was, at the end, it was all worth it. You know what I mean? Right. I'm here now. I'm trying to, get through the DJ's thing. And but I'm going to say this before you ask me any more questions. The block parties. Okay. I got to tell you that. Mm-hmm. How they all started. A lot of guys might chime in and say, oh, you're crazy.
Well, hold up. Before you start, now, I'm gonna let you say it because I'm going with again psychotic jet, psychotic funk. So I'm learning something here. Okay. So I'm gonna let you finish the story.
Okay. Psychotic funk was always like a disco production, because it was called Psychotic Funk Disco Productions, and mm-hmm. they would do parties. They would do and the block parties got started. And you're going to probably be surprised yourself. There was this campaign going on for mayor mm-hmm. at the time. And this gentleman, and I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he was running against Mayor Holland, that's been the mayor for Trenton for eons. Mm-hmm. And he was running against Mayor Holland back in the early 80s. And his name was Joseph Uhas. He was a white guy. He started the block parties in Trenton.
See, what's his name again?
Joseph Uhas. Here's the thing. Michael Giss, a lot of people call him Hootie. That's how Jackson Street got started. The Giss family, they used their electric to do the block party. Mm-hmm. What happened was he suspended his campaign. So as a gift to people that was working on his campaign, he threw a block party. And Psychotic Funk was the company that was hired to do the block parties.
Oh, okay.
That's how it got started.
Okay.
Now, I remember, I don't know if it was Josie Carterman or I know it was the Giss family. I remember she brought out a pie. Oh my God, that's been so many years ago. I can't believe I still remember that. She brought out a pie and he was there and he threw the block party, something everybody enjoyed. And what people don't know about Jackson Street, they were fighting in the back every time. You never saw a fight on Jackson Street at a block party. I mean, if you ever was there, anybody out there.
Right.
You never saw a fight because they were in the alleyway
Fighting.
But when they got finished fighting, they came out there in the park.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vice, Nut, all the cats, Will section. That's where all the craziness went on.
So the block party started on Jackson Street first.
There was no block party. After Jackson Street, everybody in Trenton had a block party. Now, Jackson Street was the creme de la creme. When you had a party in Jackson Street, a block party, why would you throw a block party anywhere else? That was the party. Then you started seeing them pop up everywhere, every time, streets were getting blocked off. But that's where it originated from, Jackson Street.
Okay.
And that's why you never saw any chaos there.
Right.
Like if you went to anywhere else, they were starting stuff. That was a no-no on Jackson Street. No-no. Right. And it always was successful. Right. And K-Ron used to do his thing by putting the sound. He was a sound genius. And to me, he was. Because he was always innovating, building, and, until, other people came along like Pop, Duke. Mm-hmm. They came out with bigger stuff. Because I remember K-Ron got locked up. He's not alive right now, but I can say this. He got locked up one night, and we were doing Father Rocker, me and Duke, at the Carnival. And Herbie Taylor walks up, and I'm looking at him, and he said, "Hey, man, when y'all get done up here, come to BT's." And I'm like, "What's up?" K-Ron got locked up. We need a DJ for the night. We need the sound system. So we packed up the truck and went down there. Somehow K-Ron got out of jail. He come walking in. What y'all doing? What y'all doing? So we here now. So it was like a battle. So mind you, K-Ron had older stuff that was like minted in the building, like it stayed there, it didn't come out. Right. Duke had new stuff. We went to Funkamart down in Philly to get this stuff, these big gigantic speakers and stuff that he built. Right. And K-Ron came in and we were starting to play. And Sensuous Skip came out of the booth and was like, what in the world these guys got? The building was vibrating. So a lot of people didn't know back in the day, when you had that type of two entities, if that guy's playing a record, you blend that record in so the crowd would never stop. Right. And then you do your thing after that. Right. And that's how it evolved. Because Psychotic Jet consisted of K-Ron, Tiny Tim, Muscles, 007, JD the Thin Man, Eli, of course, Sensuous Skip. And we were the guys because they were part of. Now, people don't know, Herbie and them was their own entity at one point. They had a little van. They used to do stuff in the park. I saw some photos that Skip had put up, and I was like, where did you get these pictures from? I used to see these guys in the park, but I didn't know who they were, So we were doing our thing, man. And once we got like a family and the BTs was the thing, that was the catalyst for all the DJs to follow. So everybody was trying to be like us. Right. And I welcome that. Believe me, I did, because you can only do something for so long, and so you have to change. Like when they came out with the CDs and the Serato and stuff, I was like, whoa, what is that? Yeah. But it's beautiful that we can still keep that thing going, and you still can play the oldies. Right. But again, I just figured I needed to come on and tell people about a lot of things, about when the block parties started, how they started, and where it went from there. And I know K-Ron was doing after hours illegally.
Well, but who wasn't? Who wasn't?
But he was doing stuff down at the marina. He was doing stuff at the boys club. But it was good because at that time, that era was a different era for us. The mentality, it was people wasn't violent.
Right.
You didn't have any problems. Right. And you could hire your boy for security. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So
everybody probably knew him. There was no problems, and again, part of this show is to come on. Everybody got a story to tell, and I'm sitting here amazed because I'm learning some new stuff, up and coming, watching and listening. And I remember seeing, I can't remember the guys or the DJs, but I said I always wanted to do that, going to the block parties and things of that nature. But you're right, that was a different time in our lives. We enjoyed ourselves, had a good time, killing and shooting and stuff like that. You know, it was, you know, so you're right, bro. The names you have just kicked on this show, I'm sitting here like, I don't know many of them. Some I do know, but I thank you and appreciate you for that knowledge, bro. Thank you. That's his history, bro. You paved the way for me.
Because those guys, I was very humbled to be around them. I used to see them all the time, and then when I got a chance to be around them, I just kept my mouth shut.
Right.
I just watched what they were doing, and then eventually, I remember me and Timmy doing a party, Tiny Tim doing a party, and 007 and Muscles wasn't included. I don't know what that was about, but it was just because I was that guy. Because I remember playing this record at this point. Brian Brannon, Brian Boston, most people call him. He fought Roy Jones. I remember he used to come to the parties. He always wore Stacey Adams. He was always dressed at a hip hop party.
Right.
And he used to sit on the bleachers. I used to sit there and watch him. I knew he was related to Boston. I'm related to Charles, and I knew he was different.
Right.
Now, he was the first one I seen pop locking. I'm sorry, Brian. I hope I ain't disrespect you anything. But he was the one I seen pop locking, and I'm like, yo, who is that dude? But then when I seen him, Charles, and Jesse together, I kind of put them together, you know.
Right.
So now Brian used to sit on until a West Coast song come on. I don't know if he was from the West Coast, but he wouldn't get up until they played some West Coast stuff.
Right.
And he would pop lock. And next thing you know, I thought it was a fight in the party. Because the crowd would get around him and he by himself. And he pop locking. And he doing this and he's drenching in sweat. And I'm like, and he would pop lock for like an hour almost. Seems like, might have been 30 minutes, but it looked like an hour. And then the next time, you know, I seen him in the gym. I went into Muggsy's gym, and next thing I know, he in here fighting. And I'm like, oh, it's the same dude, you know? So a lot of this stuff evolved, and I used to sit back and watch it. I came check you out a couple times. I didn't want to say nothing, but you know, I went in there and I said, see what this dude do. I kept hearing his name, and then I said, you know, I went to William H. things, I went to Plex things, I went to Ramsey things, you know. And I can tell you, it's no disrespect to nobody, like I said. You know, I used to speak to William H. and no response. But I figured, well, maybe he don't know me. So I said something to Juice, and I said, Juice, you know, and H don't speak back. He said, don't worry about it. Next thing I see William H., I'm coming down the walkway, and Cigar Sunday, he's like this to me.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is this dude doing? I guess Juice said something to him, and he was like, okay. Juice was like, yo, that was the dude before us. Because, you know, to me, Juice was different. He was different. You know, Cutmaster B, Benji. I used to box with Benji. All those guys, man, that was running around here being DJs. I remember Benji used to come to my house and try to do the same thing with Juice doing on his tape. I was like, what is he doing? You know, he was adding stuff. Yeah. But I kind of see the growth that they were trying to do. Right. But Juice was just something out of this world. I mean, with his blends. Right. And I know for a fact that, you know, I guess I can say this, that a lot of that stuff that Juice was doing musically, visually, it was Barbara. She was the one that doing the visual.
Barbara,
that was his girl.
Okay.
And Juice was blind.
You know,
I can tell you, you know, go ahead, but I'm gonna tell you.
No, because in our conversations, he made comments. He used to make comments about that to me, saying that, but I didn't.
Well, here's the story on that. That's why when people saw Juice flip the Hummer, he did everything Juice drew, he tore it. His sight was gone.
Oh, okay.
No, you didn't know it. Now, I ran into his mom about maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And again, my mom knew his mom. So Juice used to have to go to the doctors. I was retired. He used to call me and say, KC, I need to go to the doctor. I need to do this. I take him to his appointments. I was the one taking him grocery shopping because he couldn't drive.
Okay.
So I was there for him, and I never let any of the DJ mess get in the way of my friendship with him. You know, like he would say, "Hey, KC, Barbara got to work." So I said, "Don't worry, I'll come and get you juice. I'm retired now, so I'll come and get you."
Right.
I take him. You go to to whatever that Sam's or whatever, and I just sit in the car and let him shop. Bring him home. Oh, yeah, I just don't keep the money. He refused. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you a funny story about Juice real quick though. Juice had got his eyes kind of fixed, so he was wearing glasses. And I picked him up. I don't want to cry about this, man, but I picked him up. I took him to Walmart after his procedure. Mm-hmm. And we go get the glasses. Juice in the vision place. I'm gonna try to keep it together, man.
Okay.
And the lady came out. She said, "Mr. Short, here." He put them on. Juice took them right off. But mind you, didn't see. Juice took the glasses off. We started walking out the store. He knocked the display down. Boom. She said, "Mr. Short, you got to wear the glasses." We get in the car, and he said, "KC, how much would you charge me to take me to Harbor Freight?" I said, "Harbor Freight?" He's like, "Yeah." So we go to Harbor Freight. We go in, walking around. He walking around looking. I said, "Juice, what are you looking for?" "I'm looking for the goggles." I said, "Goggles?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You should like." "Yeah, I know. I know, man. I know, but I need these goggles." He went in and bought 2 pair of goggles, put the glasses in a case and wore the goggles with no medication in them. I fell out. I said, "Juice, you mean to tell me you got glasses to see, but you want to wear goggles? Clear goggles?"
You know, you sit here saying that, and I got that visual of him with them damn things on, right? You know,
it was right.
Yeah. And I was like, because I'm thinking you gonna say those the glasses he got on, but I'm like, yeah, he did have them damn goggles.
Working glasses.
Yeah.
I said, "Juice, what are you doing?" So Juice was like a little brother to me. Right. I love him. I miss him. He used to call me, and every Monday, Juice went on dialysis. He didn't want to go. He called me acting weird. I said, go. I did it. I said, "I'm still here. I did it for 8 years." And he went and he called me a couple of weeks and said, "KC, yo, man, you're the reason why I'm alive." And I said, "Cut it out." And he said, "No, I didn't want to go." I said, how you feel?" He was like, "Man, I feel so good. I can walk down the steps. I'm doing this and doing that." So I'm calling every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He would call me 20 minutes before he got out that chair. "Guess what, man? I'm getting out the chair. I want you to come over. We're going to hang out."
Okay.
And I truly miss him because of the things, because when Red passed, I couldn't go to the memorial at the library. Mm-hmm. I had just got my kidney transplant, and COVID was out, and I couldn't be around people. I had to stay away from people for 8 weeks. Right. And he was like, "No, man." And then when they gave DJ Juice Day, which is coming up on the 1st, mm-hmm. he wanted me to come over to Falls. I said, "Juice, I wish I could." He's like, "No, man, you gotta come. You gotta come because I want everybody to tell you the reason why I'm a DJ. Why you kept me going." And I said, "Juice, believe me, I want to come. I really do." But I watched that, and I remember the guy mentioned Psychotic Jet. He mentioned my name, and I was surprised because he started mentioning DJs, and he said, "Yeah, we're gonna do this documentary on Psychotic Jet, KC Rock." I'm like, "Whoa!" I had to rewind it because I couldn't believe that the dude actually called my name out. Okay. And when I seen him at the funeral, he was like, "Look, man, we're gonna do a documentary, and I want you there because of course you know." Right. And I was like, "Okay, cool, man. Just hit me up." I gave him my number, and I said, "When I'm getting ready, just let me know." While I still got my brain, working. So I appreciate you bringing me on, man, and giving me this time, and hope somebody learns something. That they didn't know that was going on in Trenton back in the days. Again, Lady Red didn't want to come out the skate rink. I would not bow down in the skate rink. The reason why, because everything you scratch in the skating ring, because it was hollow, it was beautiful. It wasn't raw. So that's why. But when he came back to New Jersey, we hooked up again. And there's a photo on my page of me, him, Swell, and a couple of the DJs at Father Shahid's funeral. Mm-hmm. And I did not know Father Shaheed rode a motorcycle. I was surprised. I did not know. So I remember him coming to my studio with Link. And the thing about Link, it was me, Link, and who else was it? Might have been Razi. It was. We went up to actually Wyclef was looking for Link. He wanted to start this group. And we went up to the Booger basement, and I go downstairs in prison bars. I see everybody from Trenton in there. Trenton in the house, and they scratch their name in it. Okay. So I took some tracks up. Shaheed took some tracks up. And it was the night of the Bad Boy party. I'll never forget. He said, look, I don't, when I met Wyclef, he didn't have no hair. He was just bald. And he was drinking this milk as a, what do they call it now, but it looked like carnation milk. But he was sipping on it. And Lauren was sitting in the office. This one, I think the Fuji Live when it came out, I didn't even know who they were. So Link started talking, and him and Lauren started talking. She was sitting in the office, little curly hair, little short, thin girl. And I played some tracks. Shaheed played some tracks. And he said, hey, y'all want to go to the Bad Boy party? And Link said, yeah. Shaheed said, man, I ain't risk for that. He said, I'll get y'all in. All you got to do is go over to New York. I was like, nah, we go, because I drove. And I remember the first time I heard the name Refugee Camp was from, back that day. I still didn't know who he was. I had to go home and Google who they were. So at that time, Razi, I think it was Razi, but I know it was me. No, it was me, Link, and Shaheed. And I remember him, every track Shaheed played, he said, yo, that's Fuji Show. Every track. He might have heard one or two of my tracks. I took my tape out and threw it on the side. But every track Shaheed put in there, he had a cassette. He was like, yo, that's some Fuji Show. That's Fuji. That's Fuji. So I had this track that I used with the Ozzy Brothers. The song Groove With You. I used the beginning. So I'm standing there, and he said, yo, where you get that sample from? So I looked at him. And I was like, what? He was like, where'd you get that sample from? The song from Groove You. And I said, well, the Ozzy Brothers is from right over the next town in Teaneck. How could you not know the Ozzy Brothers? He said, that's what? I said, yeah. So now, the second track I played for him, the song Teddy Pendergrass, Wake Up Everybody? Okay, at the beginning, I sampled that. Now, Big Ron Horton, I hope you watching, Ron, said I couldn't sample it. So what I did was I sampled it, looped it, and put a tambourine on the end to make the loop. And Ron started smiling. When Ron knew you did something right, he'll just start smiling. Right, okay. Because Ron, to me, was a kind of a genius as well when it came to that. And at this point, I played the track for him. And I had this group called, they was from Hamilton, the young kids from Hamilton High called Founders of Style called Wicked. It was LeVar, it was Charles Upshur, what's the name? He called himself something Dent or something. They were all part of the group. And I had this one kid that sounded like Redman. He got in trouble, so he was eliminated. And Link tried to set me up. They had a studio downtown. And Link was an A&R down there. He called me one day. I was surprised. I don't know where he got my number from. He said, hey, I heard your group. I need you to come down to the studio. So we went down. So Ramsey was in there again. Okay. Ramsey sitting in the back. Link sitting in the back. They closed the office up front. They told everybody to come in the back of my group. So we had our music ready. Link said, no. I said, well, what do you mean? So Ramsey put in his music. My guys just start getting up rapping. So Link was like, yo, they never heard this before. That was just, rappers. That's how they were very, rich and everything. And so now getting back to Wyclef. As I'm playing this he listened to the whole song. So I went to the movies with this young lady at the time, because I was divorced, and we snuck off for work. So we watching Life. Nobody's in the movies. We in Princeton, and we just doing the day. So we sitting there, and all of a sudden, the movie Life comes on. All of a sudden, I hear the sample, the same everything. She said, hey, isn't that your song? I'm like, wait a minute. Now, mind you, he heard it. If you watch the movie Life, you'll hear it. But it's just the beat, the beginning. Right. I'm doing the sample. All of a sudden, I look at the credits, Wyclef Jean. I'm like, ain't this a trip? So I knew, when I seen that, I said to myself, I wonder where he got that from. Because he listened to the whole song, the breaks and everything.
Right.
But he was more interested in Father Shaheed stuff, which was dope. And I don't know. So he started asking Shaheed about samples, and Shaheed was bringing up, oh, that's what that sample was. Shaheed was very knowledgeable about what the samples was coming from.
Right.
I wasn't as knowledgeable as he was, but everything that he played, I think he listens to that tape front and back. And every track on Shaheed's tape, Wyclef wanted. He wanted, yeah. Wow. So, but Link went in the booth because he interviewed a bunch of people for this group, and Link went in there and did what he was doing. That's when Lauren asked him, was he Jamaican or something? Mm-hmm. And he said, I know his father is somebody from the islands or something. Right. Because Link used to make this juice. I mean, last time I seen Link, he was on Facebook calling himself the Bushman, because he does these health things, with the juice and thing. I don't know if it was what they call that a shout out for his business, but I work with him, and I think his brother Lennox was nice too with the samples and stuff. So I've dealt with a lot of them people. I just wish I could have got involved earlier, and also Poor Righteous' first DJ, Divine. I hope he sees this because he had amputation. We did a lot of work with him and Skip Nitty in my first studio, and then when I moved to the second studio, Divine was coming through doing their stuff. There was a lot of guys coming through, man, that I'm sorry, I don't remember everybody, on this platform, but you know who you are. You see me, you know that you did work with me. And if I didn't shout out your name, the next time this brother had me on, I will have your name. But this platform, I'm glad he got it. I see it all the time. And I kept saying to myself, when this dude gonna call me? Did somebody please tell this dude who I am? But I'm glad that I was able to come here and throw a little bit of knowledge. And there's some stuff I probably forgot, because when the first time you called me, I'm like, oh, God, man, I'm not going to write nothing down. But I'm thinking, I can't forget nobody. They're going to chew me out. But just know that this man, what you're doing, man, is beautiful, man. And I'm so glad that, you allowed me to come on and talk. Now, that other thing, that we didn't really discuss was boxing with O, but when you come on, I'm going to be watching if it's live, you know what I mean?
Better yet, when O come on, you come on over too.
Because the team we were on, it was myself, Keith Feliciano, O, Sean Brown, Ozzie Ingram, Terry Singletary, Anthony AC Richards. We were on that. That was the team. I was the heavyweight. And I remember real quick before we sign off, Mr. Feliciano, I hope you see this, because every time I see him, we talk about it. Keith was fighting this cat named Adam Garland. Nobody could beat them. Adam Garland was beat by two people, Keith and Charles Boston. So I'm the last fight. After 165, I come out, everybody gone. Wow. That was the fight, Keith. Right. So, and Sean Brown, of course. I'm in the dressing room, taped up, boot ready to go. Keith walks in the gym, in the locker room, and said, "Yo, man, I need your shoes." I said, "What? I'm ready to go to fight." He was like, "No, man, I'm going on before you." So I wore, had Adidas, and I hate my shoes being hot. Right. Somehow, me and Keith wore the same size. Barry Goss comes in the locker room and said, "Yo, Keith." Now, Keith doesn't call me Keith, even though that's my name. He calls me Kit, and he never calls me Keith. So he says, "Yo, man, I need your shoes." He almost said it like he wanted to take them from me. Give me your shoes,
run them.
Run them, you know what I mean? So he gave me the shoes. So I'm barefooted. I'm looking out the door, and all of a sudden I see Adam go down. Boom! Like, I see Keith run back to the corner, hands up. And after that, man, it's time for me to fight. They put my shoes on. I come out. Now, mind you, those are Golden Gloves. Right. I come out. It might be about maybe 50 people in the whole Dunn Sports Arena up in Elizabeth. I'm like, where everybody at? Everybody left. So it was always that. Now, I remember when I started out with Team Post with Milo Savage. My grandfather, the one, took me to Milo Savage. I used to get bullied. I didn't know I was being bullied because I was 4 feet tall in the 7th grade. I come on bloody nose because even though I lived in North Trenton, my home, my mom lived in South Trenton, but because of welfare issues, my address had to be Union Street. I used to catch a bus, but I come home bloody nose. My grandfather got sick. He knew Milo. He took me to Milo and said, let him out of fight. I wouldn't do so. I would say, man, can we kill each other? And that's how I started boxing on Perry Street at the Union Hall. And I met Casey Diggs there. I met Terrence Crawford there. They was all part of the James Downing crew, you know. And a lot of people don't know where Terrence got the name Heat from. You may not know either.
Nah.
Terrence used to live behind me. Or he lived on Hanover. I lived across from the county line on Wilkerson Place.
Right.
And I used to jog every morning. And Terrence used to come out, stand on his porch, and in his backyard he had a bag. And somebody said, "Man, you like a Heat? You're the Heat." Boom, 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 boom. That's how he got that name.
That's how okay.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? I said boxing was a good thing for me. It kept me out of trouble, but I guess we'll talk about that again. Yeah, you know, I was one of his coaches.
Yeah.
You know, of course, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed back in the gym through the doctors because of my immune system at the time.
Right.
I'm slowly coming back, and I saw about maybe a month ago or so, and I told him I'm going to come back, and he's like, "All right, you never left, you never got kicked out." So you know, the gym is nice. I like what he's doing. I mean, he's getting wins and things like that. And I respect what he's doing because, again, where we came from with, you know, Goss and Goss, because it was Trenton Powell before that. And
right.
how I became with Goss and Goss, they had a heavyweight named Arnold Hicks. And I don't know what was wrong with him, but Barry came over to the team post and got me. That's how I ended up with them. Right. But again, we'll talk about that some other time. But I want to thank you again, brother, for letting me have this space and time, you know what I mean? And again, I may have forgot some things, but y'all know when I come back for round 2 or whatever, you know, whenever we can bring it back.
I like that round 2.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that you may want to still ask me that we haven't gotten into, but you know, the questions will always be there, and I should have answers for them.
So. One thing about all of my episodes, I save all of these.
Got you.
All of them, you know, because I know I can go back. This was with KC. This was with, this was with, I have everything back there. And yes, definitely part 2, you're more than welcome, bro. And I thank you. I appreciate you. Not only did I learn some things today about your DJ career, DJs that I didn't know that paved the way for people like myself to come along and do our thing in the city of Trenton. And yes, there definitely will be a round 2 because we both could talk about that boxing career. I came a little bit after y'all.
Well, I'm going to picture with you at the club.
Yeah. You know, I came under that Muggsy wing, you know, me and Casey talked about, but we definitely going to chop it up about that. But, bro, I appreciate you. And,
no doubt, man.
And I thank God for allowing you to be here. You know, you've been through some battles and some things health wise.
I had cancer 2 years ago.
Yeah, and see, and guess what? You're here to talk about it.
I went yesterday. Cancer hasn't returned, so I'm good. You know what I mean?
Amen. Good. Good.
I'm not angry. I can't be mad at nobody because of what I've been through. And I have my days, but something tells me somebody's worse than me. Get up. You know what I mean? I'm 62 years old now. I started boxing when I was 14. I started DJing when I was 17. Right. And, you know, I just kept going on and on because I kept saying to myself, you know, he couldn't wake me up. You know, he didn't have to wake me up. Right. So I just keep moving and moving and moving. And I never have animosity about anything. And I've learned through life in itself that you need to be more humble as you grow, bro. You know what I mean? Bro. Because so many people leaving here so soon. Yes. Every time I look at them, I'm like, oh, no. You know? Right. And so just humble yourself. Be kind to one another. You know, tell somebody you love them sometimes. You know, it may sound goofy, and I tell guys in my club all the time, hey, man, I love you. Ain't nothing wrong with that because you may not get to say that to them. Absolutely. And don't go crazy and don't, get to know your family. That's all I would tell people. Right. I don't know. It's just me and my sister left. It was 5 of us. You know, I had to bury 3 and my mom. And so I'm good. And I'm just telling people out there, you know, before we sign off, you know, love your family. I know y'all might have some arguments or something. Yeah, hey, because you can't talk to them when you're looking down at them. And because I always say this to, I don't care where you going, where you coming from. When you leave from around me, I say this. This is my saying. And a lot of people know that I say this. Hey, be safe. I want to talk to you and not about you. And I remember the young lady said, what you mean by that? I said, if I talk to you, then that means you're in prison. If I talk about you, that means you're
not here.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So just humble yourself and just be what it is, because once you're gone, ain't no shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, you're right, bro. You're absolutely right. And with those words being said, man, again, I thank you. I appreciate you, man. And I want to thank my viewers all over the world. Another hot episode with my man Casey Rock in the building. And yes, it definitely will be a part 2. And again, thank y'all for tuning in. Good night. God bless, my love. See y'all on the next. Peace.